A 6-year-old girl in a town in America left for school one regular morning and just disappeared as if into thin air. She had a walk that was less than 5 minutes long, just 2 blocks on streets she had walked down countless times. But this time, she would not reach the school doors. Then, 8 years later, electricians working under an old house found items that showed the awful truth about where Lily Whitfield had really gone. The stack of late bills looked blurry to Nora Whitfield as she sat at her kitchen table, where her morning coffee was getting cold in her chipped cup. 8 years had gone by since Lily went missing, but the money problems from paying for private detectives, artists who drew what she might look like now, and keeping websites running had never gotten better. She was sorting the envelopes without thinking electric water. Another credit card bill when her phone buzzed on the old wooden table, showing a local number she didn't know. "Mrs. Whitfield, this is Detective Martinez with the County Sheriff's Department." The voice was professional, but it had a feeling to it that made her grip the phone tighter. "I need to speak with you about your daughter's case." Her heart pounded in her chest. After 8 years, calls about Lily came less often and were usually dead ends or mean pranks. "Have you found something, ma'am? I would rather talk about this in person, but because of the situation. Electricians working on an empty property found some items we think may belong to your daughter." The room felt like it was tilting. Nora's free hand fumbled for a pen and knocked over the salt shaker. "Where? What did they find?" "The property is on Willow Creek Road, about 15 miles outside town. The house was set to be knocked down, and the crew was checking the electrical wires when they went into the crawlspace." He stopped, and she could hear the sound of papers. "Mrs. Whitfield, they found clothing and personal items that match what Lily was wearing when she disappeared." Her hand shook badly as she wrote the address on the back of an electric bill. The first search had gone out 5 miles from the school, and then 10 miles in the weeks after. They had never gone as far as Willow Creek Road. It had seemed like an impossible distance for a 6-year-old to go. "I'm heading there now," she said, already standing. "Mrs. Whitfield, I need to prepare you. What we found? It's upsetting. The scene makes it seem. I'm coming." She hung up the phone before he could say more, grabbing her keys and purse in one quick move. The drive felt endless, no matter how fast she went. The way there took her past places she knew well, the elementary school, the old water tower, the church where they had held prayer nights, before going into areas she hardly ever saw. The view changed from town streets to country farmland, and then 2 areas of wild woods. Her GPS counted down the miles as her mind raced with different ideas, each one more awful than the last. Willow Creek Road was little more than a dirt path that wound through thick trees. She almost drove past the group of police cars until she saw the crime scene tape stretched between 2 large oak trees. The house itself sat like a hurt animal behind overgrown bushes. It was a single-story house with rotting wood sides, a front porch that had partly caved in, and windows that were either broken or covered with boards. Weeds had taken over what was probably once a lawn. Detective Martinez met her at the edge of the taped-off area. He was younger than she had thought, with kind eyes that showed the heaviness of what he had seen. "Mrs. Whitfield, thank you for coming. I want to show you what we've found, but I need you to know this is an active crime scene." "Just show me," she said, surprised at how steady her own voice sounded. He led her on a path marked with small flags going around to the side of the house. The original foundation had sunk some, making gaps in the concrete blocks. Near the back corner, a wooden panel to a crawlspace was leaning against the wall, showing a dark opening that was barely 2 feet high. The electricians needed to get to the main junction box, Martinez explained, pointing at the opening. "It's in the crawlspace." When they got inside, he took out a tablet and swiped through crime scene photos. "I can show you these first, or you can see the real scene. Either way, it's hard to see. I need to see it, Nora said. Martinez gave her shoe covers and rubber gloves. The forensics team has gone over most of it, but we're still keeping the scene as it was. He bent down by the opening. Strong lead. Work lights lit up the space inside. Follow me, and try not to touch anything. The crawlspace smelled of old dirt and something else. A dusty smell that suggested it hadn't been used in a long time. Nora had to walk bent over, following the beam of Martinez's flashlight over the packed dirt. The space went on for about 12 feet before it came to an area that looked like it had been cleared on purpose. Then she saw it. A dirty red mattress, the size for a child, was on the ground, its cloth stained with dirt and other things she did not want to guess. Hooked to the closest support pole, a heavy chain ended in an open padlock, the metal still shiny under some rust. On the concrete wall, held up with yellowed tape, was a Hello Kitty poster. Its edges were curled and the colors were faded, but it was clearly the same type that Lily had loved. But it was the clothing that broke her heart. Spread over the mattress like clothes for a doll were Lily's denim overalls, the ones with the sunflower Nora had sewn on the front pocket herself. The green and yellow striped shirt was next to them. The cloth was somehow kept in good shape by the dry air. The pink backpack was slumped in the corner, its cartoon character still visible under the dirt. "Oh God," Nora whispered, as her knees hit the ground. "Oh God, she was here." "There's more," Martinez said in a soft voice. He pointed his light at 2 plates stacked near the mattress with leftover food that had turned hard on them. A plastic water bottle for a child was lying on its side. "We found DNA evidence all over the space, hair samples, fingerprints on the plates and bottle. The lab is testing everything now." "How long?" The question came out like she was choking. "Based on the wear on the mattress and the dust and dirt piled up, forensics thinks it was used for a long time. Weeks, maybe even months." He stopped, picking his words with care. "Mrs. Whitfield, we've also found evidence in the main house. Whoever kept your daughter here was able to use the whole property." Nora reached for the striped shirt, but stopped just before she touched it. She had ironed that shirt the night before Lily disappeared, using the lavender-scented water her daughter loved. A small part of her brain heard Martinez explaining how the crawlspace's steady temperature and low moisture had kept things from rotting, but she mostly just stared at the small clothes that once held her baby. "Who owned this place?" she finally asked. "Frank Morrison, age 78. He's been in a retirement home for 2 years. The house was rented through a management company that doesn't exist anymore called Riverside Realty. They went out of business 5 years ago, but we're trying to find their records." "And the renter?" Martinez's face grew serious. "Morrison says it was a long-term rental paid with cash. He only met the renter one time when he first showed the house. Said he was a normal, quiet man who kept talking about needing storage space. The rent was always sent in envelopes full of cash, always on time, so Morrison never had a reason to go check on the place." Outside the crawlspace, Nora saw a faded sign half hidden by vines. "Riverside Realty for lease." The phone number was too worn to read. "We're going through everything," Martinez promised her. "The state crime lab is sending more people. If there's any clue that points to who did this, we will find it." Nora looked back at the house, its empty windows reflecting the afternoon light. Her daughter had been held in one of those empty rooms, while she had been making flyers and planning searches. While the whole town had looked through forests and ponds, Lily had been here, 15 miles away, hidden. "The rental payments," she said all of a sudden. "There must be records of the rental payments. We're already looking into it. Morrison's nephew is looking through his uncle's old papers. The property management company's records were supposed to be given to another company, but Martinez just shrugged. Paper records from 8 years ago are not always kept well." As they walked back to the cars, Nora tried to remember every detail of the house and land. The rusty mailbox, the gravel driveway, the group of birch trees that would have had white flowers in the spring. Lily would have seen those trees through any window that wasn't boarded up. Did she watch them change with the seasons? Did she count their leaves to make the time go by? What happens now? She asked. We check every inch of this property. Follow every lead from the rental records, and Mrs. Whitfield, Martinez looked right at her. We don't stop until we find who did this. Leaving the crime scene, Nora had planned to drive right home, but her hands seemed to remember the way on their own. Without thinking, she found herself turning onto Maple Street, following the path that had been burned into her mind 8 years ago. The old neighborhood looked both the same and different. Trees were taller, houses had new paint, driveways were redone. Where her small rental house used to be, a big, modern duplex now stood, its beige walls and 2 garage doors wiping away any sign of the home where Lily had eaten her cereal that last morning. She parked by the curb and sat for a minute, holding the steering wheel tightly. How many times had she made this drive in those first few weeks of panic? 50? 100? Each time she hoped she would see something that had been missed, some clue that would take her to her daughter. Now that she knew Lily had been held prisoner while everyone was searching, the familiar street felt like it was making fun of her. Nora got out and started to walk the path Lily would have taken. 2 blocks. That's all it was. A 5-minute walk for a 6-year-old's short legs. She passed the Hendersons' house where their dog, Max, used to bark hello from behind the fence. The fence was not there anymore, replaced by a short hedge. The big maple tree where Lily liked to get helicopter seeds had been cut down, leaving just a smooth spot on the lawn. At the corner of Maple and 3rd, she stopped. The crossing guard post was still there, but its stop sign was now automatic, with flashing LED lights. There was no need for a person to be there anymore. Technology had taken the place of Harold Walsh's careful eyes and warm smile. The morning sun made the same shadows it would have 8 years ago, and Nora could almost picture him there in his bright vest, one hand holding the stop sign, the other waving kids across the street. Harold had been there every morning for more than 10 years, she recalled. He knew every kid's name, asked them about their games and tests, and had a pocket full of stickers for the little kids who were brave enough to cross without their parents. The corner felt empty without him. There, she saw a small memorial marker. The metal plaque was old but clean, with fresh flowers around it. In memory of Lily Whitfield, forever 6 years old. A plastic-covered card among the flowers had writing she knew. Still praying for answers, Mrs. Chen. Nora's throat felt tight. Even after 8 years, her old neighbor kept up the small memorial. She touched the marker softly, thinking of how sad Harold had been when he found out about Lily's disappearance. He had blamed himself so much for having a doctor's appointment that day, sure that if he had been at his post, Lily would have made it to school safely. For months after, he had planned weekend search groups, printed flyers with his own money, and walked through woods and fields, calling her name until his voice was gone. At the one-year memorial service, he had cried in front of everyone, saying sorry to Nora again and again for not being there. The weight of what she had found out that morning pressed down on her, while Harold was planning searches while the whole town was looking. Lily had been stuck in that crawlspace 15 miles away, maybe close enough to hear the search helicopters, but impossibly far from any help. Nora turned away from the memorial and kept walking toward the school. The path took her past the police station where she had spent so many hours, first giving reports, then watching security videos, then just waiting in the lobby, hoping for news. Past St. Andrew's Church, where a priest had held special prayer services every week for 6 months. Past Riverside Park, where helpers had walked in straight lines, checking every bush, every drain pipe, every hidden spot. Except, it seemed, for the one that mattered. The elementary school looked the same as she pulled into the visitor parking lot. The same happy yellow paint, though maybe a little more faded. The same playground equipment where Lily had loved the twisty slide. The same flagpole where they had flown the flag at half height for a week after she disappeared. The bike racks were empty in the afternoon sun. The same racks where Lily would have locked her bike when she was older if she had gotten the chance to grow older. Nora sat in her car for a second, trying to find her strength. In that building were people who might remember that awful morning, who might have some forgotten piece of information that could help explain what happened. She needed to know who else had left, who might have had a reason to hurt a child. The discovery in the crawlspace had created new questions that needed answers. The main entrance to the elementary school still had the same heavy wooden doors, though now you had to be buzzed in to enter. Nora pressed the button and told the secretary who she was, hearing the lock click open. The hallway smelled just like she remembered. Floor wax, cafeteria food, and that hard-to-describe smell of kids' energy. Her steps echoed on the shiny floor as she walked to the main office. A young woman came out of the principal's office and held out her hand with a professional smile that became softer when she heard Nora's name. Mrs. Whitfield, I'm Dr. Sarah Coleman. I was thinking someone might come by after the news this morning. Please, come in. Dr. Coleman looked to be no older than 35, with neat red hair and kind eyes behind nice glasses. Her office was neat but felt welcoming, with kids' art on one wall and a small Zen garden on the windowsill. I want you to know, she started, sitting down at her desk, that even though I've only been here for 3 years, I know Lily's case very well. Her memorial plaque in the hallway makes sure we never forget. You weren't here when Nora let her words fade. No, I came after Principal Morrison retired, but I've read all the files, and the staff who were here have told me their memories. It affected everyone very much. She turned to her computer. I understand you might want to know about staff who worked here at that time. I can get into our employee files. The school district put everything on computers 5 years ago. Her fingers moved quickly on the keyboard, bringing up lists and files. This might be helpful. I'm showing 12 employees who left within 2 years. Of Lily's disappearance, she turned the screen so Nora could see. 3 teachers retired early. Mrs. Gonzalez, Mr. Peterson, and Miss Kumar. 2 moved to other districts. The art teacher, Miss Williams, went to Riverside Elementary, and Coach Bradley moved to the middle school. The head janitor, Carl Brennan, left after a background check showed an old assault charge the district had somehow missed at first. Nora leaned in closer. An assault charge from when he was in his 20s. It seems it was a bar fight that went too far. It should have been found in his first check, but there was some mix-up with his records. When it was discovered during a regular recheck, the district had to fire him. Dr. Coleman kept scrolling. 2 cafeteria workers moved to another state. The Jennings sisters, they were twins. Our music teacher, Mr. Yamazaki, died from cancer about 18 months after. After it happened, and Harold Walsh retired from his crossing guard job 13 months ago. That's a lot of people leaving, Nora noted. Dr. Coleman nodded, thinking it was a higher number of people leaving than usual. The pain of losing a student, especially like that, it affects everyone. Some people just couldn't handle coming back to work every day. A knock on the door cut them off. An older woman looked in, with gray hair and wearing a sweater, even though it was warm, with reading glasses on a chain around her neck. Dr. Coleman. I heard, oh my goodness, Nora. Mrs. Fitzgerald, Nora said, knowing the secretary who had been there for a long time. Eleanor, please come in, Dr. Coleman said. Mrs. Fitzgerald has been here for 22 years. She knew Lily well. Eleanor Fitzgerald came in, her eyes already getting watery. Oh, honey, I heard about what they found this morning. I'm so sorry. She sat in a chair, holding a tissue. It's that sweet little girl. She always said good morning to me when her class walked by the office. Such wonderful manners. Mrs. Fitzgerald, we were just talking about staff members who left after Lily's disappearance. Dr. Coleman explained. Eleanor's face got a little harder. The police talked to everyone for a long time back then. They were very interested in Carl Brennan once that assault charge was found. They spent hours with him. What happened with that? Nora asked. Nothing. In the end, Carl had a perfect alibi. He was at a required counseling session that morning because of his old charge. He had to sign in and was on camera at the counseling center the whole time Lily would have been walking to school. The detective said there was no way he could have been involved. Eleanor dabbed at her eyes. You know who really was torn up about it? Harold Walsh. That man blamed himself so much. He planned search parties every single weekend for months, printed thousands of flyers with his own retirement money when the main search slowed down. I remember finding him crying by the crossing post one afternoon, saying he had failed that little girl. Nora's phone buzzed. Detective Martinez's name was on the screen. Excuse me, I have to take this. Mrs. Whitfield. Martinez's voice was rushed. We've made some headway on the rental payments. They were sent to a P.O. box at the main post office, always with cash money orders. Almost impossible to trace. Sadly, when did they stop? Nora asked, knowing the others were politely trying not to listen. That's the strange part. The payments were sent every 3 months, never late until exactly 1 year ago. Then nothing. No new address, no contact info. They just stopped. Nora's eyes went back to the computer screen, to the list of people who left. Harold Walsh. Retired 13 months ago, and a few others around the same time. Was it a coincidence? It must be. She was seeing connections where there were none, her mind desperate to make things make sense. Thank you, Detective. Keep me informed. She hung up and looked at the waiting faces. They're tracing the rental payments. It's a dead end for now. Dr. Coleman leaned forward. Mrs. Whitfield, I would be happy to call some of our retired teachers if you think it would be helpful. Sometimes people remember things years later that didn't seem important at the time. That's kind of you, Nora said, feeling suddenly tired. Let me take all this in first. This has been a lot. Eleanor reached out and squeezed her hand. We're here if you need anything. The whole school community never stopped caring about Lily. Nora thanked them and walked back through the halls. She stopped at the memorial plaque near the entrance, a simple metal square with Lily's school photo and the dates of her too short life. Fresh flowers were in a small vase below it, and someone had left a teddy bear. Outside, the afternoon shadows were long in the parking lot. 8 years had sent everyone who might have seen something that morning in different directions, like seeds in the wind. The janitor with his solid alibi, the retired teachers with their new lives, Harold Walsh, no longer at his post. All these people who had been part of Lily's everyday world had moved on, while Lily herself had been stuck in that awful crawl space. The frustration grew in her chest as she walked to her car. Every lead seemed to hit a wall. Every path had gone cold over time. But something bothered her. The timing of when the rental payments stopped. The group of people retiring. It was probably nothing, she told herself. Just her desperate mind grabbing at anything. The gas needle was near empty as Nora drove through town, her mind still trying to deal with the horror of the crawlspace and the dead ends at the school. She had been running on pure adrenaline since Detective Martinez's call that morning, but now a deep tiredness washed over her. Her hands were shaking on the steering wheel, and she knew she had to stop before she became a danger on the road. The Chevron station at the edge of town was a familiar sight. How many times had she stopped here during those first terrible weeks 8 years ago? The owner, Dev Patel, had been one of the first to put up her missing flyers, taping them to every gas pump and window. His workers had joined search groups on their days off, walking through fields and woods in the summer heat. This place had been a spot to refuel in more ways than one during those hard days. She pulled up to pump 3 and tried to use her credit card, but the machine just beeped at her. "See, cashier," the screen said. Of course, nothing can be easy. Today, leaving the nozzle in her car's tank, she walked toward the store. The little bell rang above her as she opened the glass door. The same old faded floor, the same humming coolers, the same display of air fresheners by the cash register. Even the smell was the same, a mix of coffee, cleaning supplies, and gas fumes. 2 people were in line in front of her, and she stared at the candy without really seeing it while she waited. The man at the counter was buying a strange mix of things: a small container of strawberry ice cream, a small propane tank, and a pack of D batteries. His voice, when he thanked the person at the register, sent a shock of recognition through her. That soft way of speaking, the small whistle sound on his S, the sound of dentures that didn't fit well. Harold Walsh. He had gotten older in the years since she had last seen him. His shoulders were more stooped, and his thick white hair was now just thin wisps combed over his head. The harsh lights made deep shadows under his eyes, and the confident way he stood as a crossing guard was gone, replaced by the slow, careful movements of an old man. As he turned from the counter with his receipt, his light blue eyes met hers. They got wide with recognition, and his wrinkled face formed into that familiar sad smile that she had seen so many times during the searches. "Nora," he said quietly, moving his items to one arm. "I heard about what they found this morning. I'm so sorry." The real pain in his voice made her throat feel tight. Here was someone who really cared, who had walked miles looking for Lily, who had cried at the memorial services. "Harold," she was able to say, "I heard you retired. How are you doing?" He looked toward the parking lot where she now saw an old Winnebago RV parked at the far pump. The RV looked old and worn. There were rust spots on its cream-colored sides and duct tape holding a patch on one window. "Getting by? Been doing some. Traveling with my niece." He stopped, getting a better grip on the ice cream. "Well, adopted niece, really. Her parents died when she was little, so I took her in. Seemed like the right thing to do." Through the open door of the camper, Nora could see someone moving. A girl, maybe 14, were sitting at the small table, easy to see through the side window. She had long blonde hair in a ponytail and was wearing a faded blue t-shirt. The girl was looking at something, maybe a book, and licking an ice cream spoon. Without thinking, "That's wonderful of you," Nora said, and she meant it. After his wife died from cancer many years ago, Harold had never gotten married again. She had thought he was all alone in his retirement. Taking in a child at your age, that's a big responsibility. "Family is family," Harold said simply as he moved toward the door. Nora followed him, feeling strangely better after this surprise meeting with someone who had shared her pain. "I'd love to meet her," Nora said as they walked out into the warm afternoon. "It's nice to think of you having company after everything." She stopped talking as she walked next to him toward the Winnebago. The change was fast and shocking. Harold's slow walk suddenly got faster. His shoulders became stiff, and he stepped to the side, putting himself between Nora and the camper. "She's very shy with strangers," he said, and the warmth in his voice from before was gone. "We really need to get going. Long drive ahead." "Oh, I didn't mean to bother you," Nora said, surprised by how cold he suddenly was. "I just thought—" "Sarah, get away from the door," Harold called out in a sharp voice, almost jogging the last few feet to the RV. The girl looked up, confused, and in that short moment, Nora's breath stopped. The freckles, even from 20 feet away, even in the shadow of the camper, that special pattern was clear. A perfect triangle of 3 freckles on the bridge of her nose with 2 smaller ones in a line below. Not spread around randomly like most kids' freckles, but a specific pattern that Nora had kissed goodnight thousands of times. Harold was already at the camper, pulling the door shut with a loud bang that made the girl jump. Through the window, Nora saw her mouth move, maybe asking a question, before Harold's hand pushed her away from the glass. He got into the driver's seat without looking back, starting the engine with a loud roar and black smoke. "Harold!" Nora called out, but the Winnebago was already moving, pulling away from the pump with the gas hose still hooked to its tank. It broke free with a loud metal sound, and the safety valve stopped the gas as the hose snapped back. Harold didn't stop, didn't even slow down, just sped up onto the highway, going north. Nora stood frozen in the parking lot, watching the Winnebago vanish around a curve. The cashier had come out, yelling about the broken pump, but his words were just background noise. All she could see was that pattern of freckles. That special pattern that the artist had carefully drawn in every picture of what Lily might look like as she got older. She was just being paranoid. 8 years of false tips had made her see Lily everywhere. The girl didn't look like her daughter would. Different hair color, different body shape, different everything except for those freckles and Harold's reaction. The kind old crossing guard who had planned searches, who had cried at memorials, had run away rather than let her get close to that girl. The way he changed from a caring friend to a panicked stranger left her feeling very disturbed, with a cold feeling in her stomach that had nothing to do with what she had found out earlier that day. The kitchen was too quiet as Nora stood at the stove, watching water that wouldn't boil. She had gotten out a box of pasta 20 minutes ago, but her hands kept stopping as her mind went back to the meeting at the gas station. The pot was forgotten as she stared out the window at nothing, only seeing that quick look at the freckles on a teenage girl's nose. She made herself move, putting pasta into water that was barely warm. The girl looked nothing like Lily would look now. Her hair was blonde, while Lily's had been a special reddish brown. She was heavier, while Lily had been small and thin. Her face shape was completely different. Thousands of girls had freckles, millions of them. She was doing the thing she had promised herself she would stop doing years ago, seeing her daughter in every young girl's face. But Harold's reaction, though pasta water boiled over, making a hissing sound on the hot stove. Nora pulled the pot off the stove, not even cleaning up the mess. The way he had changed from a kind old friend to a panicked stranger kept playing in her mind. The way he had almost pushed the girl back, slammed the door, and driven off with the gas hose still attached. That wasn't someone being protective out of sadness. That was fear. She gave up on the pasta and picked up her phone. "Detective Martinez," she said when he answered. "I'm sorry to bother you again." "No bother, Mrs. Whitfield. How can I help you?" She tried to make her voice sound normal and calm. "I was wondering, during the first investigation, was Harold Walsh ever looked at?" The crossing guard. She heard typing, the click of a mouse. "Let me pull up the old files." Harold Walsh, 70 years old at the time. Yes, he was questioned along with all the school staff. Clean background check, no criminal record, not even a parking ticket. A 30-year reputation as a dedicated school worker. It says here he was heartbroken by the disappearance, planned many search parties. More clicking. "Is there a reason you're asking about him?" Nora paused. How could she explain a feeling? A pattern of freckles, a moment of weird behavior. "I saw him at the gas station today. He has a young girl with him now, his adopted niece," he said. "He just seemed strangely defensive when I tried to meet her. He basically ran away." Martinez's voice was gentle and understanding. "Mrs. Whitfield, I know today has been very, very hard, finding that crawl space, going through everything again. It's normal for you to be seeing things in a new way. Sadness and pain affect everyone differently. Many people who were part of Lily's case became very protective of children after that. It's a normal reaction. "You're right," Nora said, feeling silly. "I'm sorry. It's been a long day." "Nothing to be sorry for. We're following every lead from the rental house. If anything real comes up, you'll be the first person I call." After hanging up, Nora found herself at her laptop, typing Harold's name into the search bar. There wasn't much. No Facebook page, no LinkedIn, no social media at all. Just a few mentions in old-school newsletters. Crossing guard Harold Walsh celebrates 25 years of service. Walsh gets Community Safety Award. Photos showed a younger man with thick white hair and kind eyes, always with children around him. She was about to close the browser when a newer search result caught her attention. An article from the Pine Creek Gazette from 13 months ago. Pine Creek RV Park celebrates 20 years. She clicked on it and found a simple story about the park's anniversary that had short stories about different people living there. There, halfway down the page, was a picture of Harold standing next to his Winnebago, the same old vehicle she had seen that day. Harold Walsh, our newest long-term resident, says he picked Pine Creek for its peace and quiet after retiring from his job as a school crossing guard. "It's the perfect place to enjoy my older years with my adopted niece," Walsh told the Gazette. The article had the park's address, which Nora found herself writing in a notebook, her hand moving almost on its own. She walked up the stairs to Lily's room, kept exactly as it was 8 years ago, down to the homework on the desk and the stuffed animals on the bed. From a closet shelf, she took down a cardboard box full of photos and papers. Her hands knew just what they were looking for. The photo was one of her favorites. Lily at the beach the summer before she disappeared, her face looking up at the camera with a smile showing a missing tooth. The sun showed every freckle in perfect detail. There they were, 3 freckles making a perfect triangle on the bridge of her nose, about a centimeter from each other. Below that, 2 smaller ones in a straight line. The forensic artist had said it was very unusual when he was making the pictures of what she might look like as she got older. Nora took out those pictures. Lily at 8, at 10, at 12. At 14, the computer-made images showed how her face might have gotten longer, how her features might have grown up. But always, always, that freckle pattern was the same, a pattern as special as a fingerprint. She put the 14-year-old picture next to the beach photo. If she imagined the hair was blonde instead of reddish-brown, added some weight to her cheeks. No, she was just hurting herself with impossible ideas. Harold Walsh had been a regular sight at that crossing for many years. He had helped hundreds of children get to school safely. He had cried at Lily's memorial, spent his own retirement money on search flyers. The girl was his adopted niece, just like he had said. The freckles were just a coincidence, nothing else. But as Nora closed the photo box, her eyes went to the notebook where she had written the address of the Pine Creek RV Park. Just to make herself feel better, she told herself, just to prove she was being paranoid. She would drive by tomorrow, see the girl clearly in the daylight, make sure she looked nothing like Lily, and get rid of this crazy idea. The pot of pasta was still on the stove, its contents now a cold, hard lump. Nora threw it in the trash and went to bed hungry, the address of Pine Creek burning in her mind. Sleep had been impossible. Nora had laid in bed staring at the ceiling, seeing that pattern of freckles every time she closed her eyes. By 4 o'clock in the morning, she gave up trying to sleep and made coffee, sitting at the kitchen table with the Pine Creek RV Park address circled in her notebook. By 5:30, she was in her car, telling herself she was just going for a drive to clear her thoughts. The RV park was on the edge of town where houses started to turn into a pine forest. A simple sign marked the entrance. Pine Creek RV Park. Weekly, monthly, yearly rates available. The early morning sun made long shadows across the neat lines of RVs, from huge, fancy motorhomes to small travel trailers. A few people were up early, walking small dogs or sitting under their awnings with coffee cups. The office was in a large trailer with flower boxes under the windows. A bell rang as Nora went in, and a woman in her 50s looked up from a crossword puzzle. Her name tag said Deb, manager, and her face brightened up at the thought of a new customer. "Good morning. How can I help you today?" "I'm interested in monthly rates," Nora said, surprised at how easy the lie came to her for a small RV. "I'm going through some changes." "Oh, honey, aren't we all?" Deb said in a warm voice, taking out a colorful flyer. "We've got a few spots open. Let me show you around. I always say you can't get a real feel for a place without walking through." They walked down the main path, the gravel making a crunching sound under their feet. "Oh, we got." Deb talked the whole time, pointing out the different features. The laundry room, the shared fire pit, oh my God, the showers for people with smaller RVs, she introduced. The people they passed with the ease of someone who knew everyone's business. "That's Robert in Space 12, retired from the Navy. Makes the best barbecue you've ever had. The Hendersons in Space 20 just had their first grandchild. They're so happy." And way down at the end there, Space 38. That's Harold Walsh. Stays by himself. Most of the time, Nora's heart started beating faster. Seems like a nice group of people. "Oh, it is. Harold's a quiet one, though. Has strange hours, is often gone during the day. He has a sweet girl with him. They've been here about a year now." Deb lowered her voice as if telling a secret. "He homeschools her. Says the normal schools don't challenge her enough." It must be true. I've seen her reading college-level books. "That's dedicated. Homeschooling at his age," Nora said. "Family is everything," Deb said, repeating Harold's own words from the day before. "Well, I'll let you walk around, get a feel for the place. Just come back to the office before you leave, and we can talk about prices and what's available." Nora thanked her and kept walking down the path, acting like she was checking out the spaces. She stopped at the shared area, looked at the board full of announcements for the community, all while slowly making her way to the far end of the park. Space 38 was indeed private, with its back to a thick group of pine trees Harold had made. It even more private, with a makeshift fence made of lattice and blue tarps tied between posts. It made a private area around the entrance of the Winnebago, hiding it from anyone just looking around. A small awning came out from one side with 2 folding chairs and a small table under it. Nora walked closer, slowly, listening for any sound. Then she heard it, a young girl's voice humming a song with no real tune from inside the RV. The song was not one she knew, and it wandered around, the kind of song someone makes up as they go. The windows all had thick curtains pulled shut, but one had a small gap where the cloth didn't quite close. Her heart pounding, Nora moved closer, getting in a spot where she could see through that small opening. The girl was sitting at the small table, bent over what looked like a sketchbook, with colored pencils all around her. Her blonde hair was down today, falling over her face as she drew. On the table next to her was an open container of ice cream, strawberry, the same kind Harold had bought at the gas station. The girl took a spoonful without really paying attention. Her focus was on her drawing. As she did, a little bit of melted ice cream dripped onto her left arm. Without looking, she scratched the spot with her other hand. Nora gasped. Even from 10 feet away, she could see the angry red mark rising on the girl's skin near her elbow. The reaction happened right away and was just in that one spot. A raised red patch about 2 inches wide. The skin swelled and turned red as Nora watched. The memory hit her like a punch. Lily at 4, crying in the kitchen, her arm covered in that same angry rash. The quick trip to urgent care. The allergist's explanation. It's not common. Most strawberry allergies show up all over the body, with hives everywhere or breathing problems. But Lily has what we call localized contact dermatitis, our skin. Cells in that one spot are extremely sensitive to strawberry proteins. It's quite rare. They had to be so careful after that. No strawberry anything in the house. Always checking labels, telling every babysitter, every teacher. And it was always that one spot. Always the left arm near the elbow where her skin was most sensitive. The allergist had said it was like a fingerprint, that special reaction in that exact place. The girl in the RV scratched again at the growing rash and finally looked down at it, annoyed. She grabbed a paper towel and wiped the ice cream off, but it was too late. The rash would last for hours now. Nora knew, just like it always did. With Lily, she backed away from the window, her legs feeling weak. In her car, she struggled to get her phone, Detective Martinez's number looking blurry through her tears. She didn't realize she had started to cry. The strawberry allergy, she gasped when he answered. Left arm near the elbow. Localized contact. Dermatitis. It's in her medical records. Dr. Patel at Children's Hospital wrote it all down. No one else would have that exact reaction in that exact spot. The chances are impossible. Martinez's professional calm broke. You're sure? You saw? This reaction? I watched it happen. She's eating strawberry ice cream right now. The rash is spreading just like it did with Lily. Same place, same pattern, same everything. Where are you exactly? Pine Creek RV Park, near Space 38. But I can move. Go back to the main office area right away. Park where you can see the entrance, but not the specific space. Police cars are already on their way. This is enough to step in. Mrs. Whitfield, we're coming now. Nora made herself drive slowly back to the front of the park, every foot feeling like a mile. She parked near the office where Deb waved happily through the window, not knowing about the police cars racing toward them. From here, she couldn't see Space 38. She couldn't see if Harold was home. She couldn't see anything but the main entrance where Martinez's cars would arrive. She gripped the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white, checking her rearview mirror every few seconds, praying Harold wouldn't decide to leave right then, praying the girl, Lily, it had to be Lily, would still be there when help came. 3. Police cars came into the park without their sirens on, their quiet arrival more threatening than any loud wails. Detective Martinez's plain car led the group. He parked next to her and came to her window, his face looking professional and neutral, but his eyes were sharp and urgent. Mrs. Whitfield, I need you to stay here. We're going to check Space 38. If this is your daughter, we have to handle this very carefully. I understand, she said, even though every part of her wanted to run toward that RV space in the back. She watched the officers move down the main path, their movements planned and with purpose. Other people came out of their RVs, curious about the police being there. Deb rushed out of the office, her crossword puzzle forgotten, her mouth open. In confusion, the wait was unbearable. Nora could see the officers turn the corner toward the back of the park. She could imagine them getting close to Space 38, surrounding the Winnebago. Any second now, they would have answers. Any second now, 8 years of pain might finally end. Martinez's radio made a crackling sound. Even from inside her car, she could hear the stress in the officer's voice. Unit 1. The space is empty. RV's gone. Fresh tire tracks. Looks like they left in a hurry. Nora's heart sank. She was out of her car before she even knew she had moved, rushing toward Martinez as he jogged back from the back of the park. Deb stopped them both, her face red with worry. What's happening? Why are the police here? Is everyone all right? Martinez took out his phone and showed her a photo of Harold. This man, Harold Walsh, in Space 38. When did you see him last? Harold? He paid his monthly rent yesterday, but I saw his RV drive out maybe 20 minutes ago. 25. He used the back service exit. She pointed toward the back of the park. It connects to the old logging road. People use it sometimes to get around the traffic on the main highway. Did something happen? Where would he go? Martinez pushed. Does he have a favorite camping spot? Somewhere far from people. Deb's hands moved nervously. He mentioned. Yesterday when he paid, he said something about his favorite spot near Cedar Creek. Said he was thinking of taking his niece camping for her birthday. It's an old Forest Service clearing, he said. No one ever bothers him there. Where exactly? Forest Service Road 47, about 12 miles up the mountain, past the old fire tower. It's very remote. No cell service, nothing up there but trees and the creek. Her voice got higher with worry. Is the girl okay? Is Sarah okay? Martinez was already moving, yelling orders into his radio. Roadblocks on the highways, units to Forest Service Road 47. All extra help to meet on the mountain. He turned to Nora, his face stern. You need to stay here. This could be dangerous. But Nora was already getting into her car. That's my daughter up there, Mrs. Whitfield. She was in her car and following the police cars before he could finish protesting. If Martinez radioed for someone to stop her, she didn't hear it. All she knew was that Lily was 12 miles up a mountain with a man who had stolen 8 years of their lives. The police cars in front kept a steady speed on the winding mountain road. Thick pine forests were close on both sides, the morning sun hardly getting through the trees. The road twisted back and forth, getting higher with each turn. Nora's car struggled on the steeper parts, but she kept up, her hands firm on the wheel, even though her chest was trembling. 10 miles, 11. The old, abandoned fire tower showed through the trees, its metal frame rusty with age. 12 miles. The lead car's brake lights flashed and Martinez's voice crackled over someone's radio loud enough for her to hear. Winnebago scene. Clearing ahead, all units get ready to approach. The clearing opened up like a cut in the forest, a flat space, about 50 yards across, surrounded by tall pine trees. Cedar Creek flowed along the far side, its water dark. And there, parked messily near the trees, was Harold's old Winnebago. Police cars spread out in a practiced way, blocking any way to escape. Officers got out of their cars, using them for cover, their guns out but pointed down. Nora pulled in behind the last car and was immediately met by an officer who tried to send her back, but Martinez waved him off. Let her stay, but keep her behind the line, he ordered. Then picked up a bullhorn. Harold Walsh, this is Detective Martinez with the County Sheriff's Department. We need you to come out of the vehicle with your hands where we can see them. Silence. Even the forest seemed to be holding its breath. No birds were singing. The sound of the creek seemed too loud in the quiet. Harold, we know you have the girl. We know it's Lily Whitfield. Let's solve this peacefully. Come out and talk to us. More silence, then a muffled sound from inside. The RV, a girl's voice, scared and confused. Nora's knees almost gave out at the sound. After 8 years, her daughter's voice was changed by time, but it still had that certain quality she would know anywhere. The Winnebago's door opened slowly. Harold came out first, and Nora gasped at how he had changed. The kind crossing guard was gone. His face was worn and tired. His eyes were wild, and in his right hand he held a hunting rifle. His left arm was wrapped tightly around the girl, pulling her against him as a shield. The girl was crying hard, black makeup running down her cheeks. When had Lily started wearing makeup? She looked just as Nora had imagined, and nothing like she had expected. The blonde hair was confusing, and so was her heavier body, but those freckles were impossible to miss, even from across the clearing. "Grandpa, what's happening?" the girl cried. "Why are there police? What did we do? She, Sarah. It's okay, Harold said, his voice cracking. Then louder, to the officers, you don't understand. I saved her. Her parents, they didn't deserve her. Letting a 6-year-old walk to school alone in this world. I gave her everything. I taught her everything. She's my daughter now. Harold Martinez's voice through the bullhorn was steady and calm. No one wants anyone to get hurt. Put the weapon down and let's talk. There's nothing to talk about. Harold's voice got louder until it was almost a scream. 8 years. 4. 8 years I've been her family. I'm all she knows. Can't just take her away. Somewhere to Nora's left, an officer's radio made a static noise. The sharp sound made Harold turn toward it, and the end of the rifle moved away from the girl's head for a moment. In that split second of distraction, the girl must have felt his grip get looser. With the reaction of a trapped animal, she pulled free and ran. Her blonde ponytail flew behind her as she ran toward the line of police, toward safety, toward a mother she didn't remember. For one terrifying moment, Harold pointed the rifle at her as she ran away. Nora screamed, the sound tearing out of her throat. Officers shouted orders. The girl kept running, tripping on the rough ground, but not stopping. Then Harold's face fell. As officers moved in from their spots, he turned the rifle toward himself, putting the barrel under his chin. 2 officers who had positioned themselves closest Nora hadn't even seen them moving forward, rushed him with tasers. The electric shock hit him before his finger could pull the trigger. Harold shook and fell, the rifle falling harmlessly to the ground, covered in pine needles. The officers were on him in seconds, kicking the gun away, tying his hands behind his back while he cried into the dirt without making any sense. The girl had reached the police line, but stood there frozen, watching them take him down with a horrified look when Nora broke past the officers, calling, "Lily, Lily." The girl moved back, her face streaked with tears and full of confusion and fear. "My name is Sarah," she said, her voice small and broken. "My parents are dead. Who are you? Why is everyone lying?" She wrapped her arms around herself, backing away from this stranger who said she was her dead mother, looking desperately for the only parent she remembered. The old man, now face down in handcuffs, still crying about saving her, about giving her a better life. An officer gently stepped between them, speaking softly to the girl. "You're safe now. No one's going to hurt you. We're going to take you to the hospital to make sure you're okay." "I don't need a hospital." The girl's voice got louder with panic. "I need my grandpa. He's sick. He has diabetes. He needs his medicine." She tried to push past the officer toward Harold. "Grandpa, tell them. Tell them about the accident." Another officer had come to Nora, putting a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Ma'am, we need to let the paramedics check her out. You can follow us to the hospital." Nora nodded, feeling numb as she watched EMTs come toward the scared girl with careful, practiced moves. They spoke to her softly, calling her Sarah, not questioning her reality just yet. One of them, a woman with kind eyes, was able to get her to go toward the ambulance by promising that they were just making sure she wasn't hurt, that someone would explain everything soon. As they led her past where Harold was lying on the ground, the girl broke free for a second, dropping to her knees next to him. "I'll find a lawyer, Grandpa, like you taught me. I know my rights. I won't let them take me away." Her young voice was strong with purpose, even as tears ran down her cheeks. "You're all I have. You're all I've ever had." The EMTs gently pulled her away, and this time she didn't fight, walking toward the ambulance like she was in a dream. At the doors, she turned back one more time, her eyes looking around the clearing until they found Nora. For just a second, something in her face changed. Not exactly recognition, but a hint of confusion. as if some deep part of her mind was trying to match what she saw with what she had been told. Then the moment was gone, and her face became hard again. "My mother is dead," she said plainly, getting into the ambulance. "Whoever you are, my mother is dead." The doors closed, and Nora stood in the mountain clearing, surrounded by police and chaos, watching the ambulance take her living daughter away. A stranger with Lily's freckles, carrying 8 years of someone else's lies. The children's section of the hospital smelled like cleaning supplies and floor wax, smells that brought back memories of Lily being born 14 years ago. But the girl in the exam room looked very little like the child Nora remembered. She sat stiffly on the hospital bed, her arms crossed, her blonde hair messy, and her face stubborn. "I want to see my grandpa," Lily said for the 10th time, her voice getting louder. "You can't keep me here. I know my rights. He taught me about being held against my will." The nurse fixing her looked with a helpless expression at Nora, who stood frozen by the door, scared to get closer and cause another outburst. The first time she had tried to approach, Lily had screamed and thrown a pitcher of water. "Sweetheart," the nurse tried again. "You're safe here. We just need to. My name is Sarah." Lily's eyes showed her anger. "Sarah Walsh. My parents died in a car accident when I was 6. June 15th, a big pileup on the highway. 3 cars. They died instantly." She said the words like a prayer, her fingers twisting the hospital blanket. "Grandpa showed me the newspaper articles. He kept them in a folder so I wouldn't forget them." Nora's heart broke with every word. The fake story was so detailed, so well made. "Lily, please stop calling me that." The girl's voice cracked. "My mom is dead. Dead. Why is this woman lying? Why won't anyone tell me the truth?" She turned, her eyes begging the nurse. "Please. I need my grandpa. He's all I have. He's probably so worried." When Nora stepped forward on instinct, Lily became hysterical. She ripped the 4 out of her arm with blood getting on the white sheets and tried to run for the door. Took 2 hospital workers to gently hold her down while the doctor gave her a light sedative. "I want to go home," Lily cried as the medicine started to work. "Please, I want my grandpa. We were going camping for my birthday," he promised. 20 miles away, in a gray questioning room at the county police station, Harold Walsh sat across from Detective Martinez. The old man looked smaller without his crossing guard power. His shoulders were slumped, and he was handcuffed to the table. His confession came out in short bursts, mixed with excuses and tears. "My wife died 30 years ago," he started, his voice almost a whisper. "She was pregnant. I lost them both to cancer. The loneliness, you can't understand what 30 years of it does to a person." Martinez stayed quiet, letting him talk. "I watched those children every morning for decades, watched parents who didn't value what they had. That morning, seeing little Lily walking alone again, his face twisted. Something just snapped. I'd already called in sick. I'd been thinking about it for weeks, how unsafe it was. A 6-year-old walking alone. So, you took her." "I saved her," Harold insisted. "I told her there was an emergency at home, that her mother asked me to pick her up. She trusted me. I'd been helping her cross the street for months. I love her. I took care of her. She loves me too. Please don't take her away from me." The newspaper clippings about the accident. Harold's eyes looked away. "I made those. I had an old computer program. I spent weeks getting the details right. Whenever she would ask questions, remember things, I'd show them to her. Tell her the trauma was making her confused. Tell me about the house on Willow Creek Road." The old man's face fell. "We lived there for 7 years. I homeschooled her, kept her safe. When she'd fight me about her memories, when she'd say her parents were alive." He stopped, swallowing hard. The crawlspace was for time out, never for more than a few days. "I tried to make it comfortable. I brought her poster, her favorite foods. You chained her in a crawlspace. Only when she was being difficult. When she wouldn't accept the truth, Harold's voice got louder and more defensive. I gave her everything. Education, love, safety. The hair dye was to help her start over. I told her it was medicine, vitamins to keep her healthy. She believed. Me? She learned to trust me. Why leave the evidence behind? Harold's shoulders dropped. The district had a mandatory retirement age. I couldn't be the crossing guard anymore. I had to leave fast, find somewhere new. I thought the house would be torn down. I never imagined. Martinez leaned forward. When did she stop fighting you? 2 years in, Harold whispered. She stopped asking about her parents, started calling me Grandpa. She was happy. We were happy. I gave her a better life than parents who had let her walk alone. Back at the hospital, Dr. Patricia Moreno sat with Nora in a quiet meeting room. The child psychologist's face was kind but serious, and her words were chosen carefully. Lily has gone through serious mental manipulation and has bonded with her captor through trauma, she explained. The false memories Harold made are stuck very deep. Her real memories aren't gone, but they are buried under 8 years of a constant false story. Will she remember me? Nora's voice was so quiet it was hard to hear. The memories of her early life are there. The brain doesn't just erase experiences, but getting to them through the layers of lies will take time. A lot of therapy, years, maybe, and I have to be honest. There's no promise she will ever fully get back those early memories. But she's alive, Nora whispered. She's alive. Dr. Moreno squeezed her hand. She's alive, and she's safe. We take everything else one day at a time. Through the glass of the observation window, Nora watched her daughter sleep. The sedative had smoothed the angry lines from her face, and while she was resting, she could see hints of the 6-year-old who had walked to school that morning 8 years ago. The freckles were the same, that special pattern that had led her home. But everything else, the blonde hair, the suspicious eyes, the defensive way she held herself even in sleep, belonged to a stranger named Sarah Walsh. In her hands, Nora held Lily's medical file. The blood tests confirmed what she already knew: a severe strawberry allergy with a localized reaction that usually appeared on the left elbow. Such a small thing, a strange quirk of skin cells and body chemistry. Yet it had broken through. 8 years of lies and revealed a truth Harold had tried to bury. She pressed her hand against the window, watching her daughter breathe, and made a silent promise. However long it took, however many therapy sessions, however many times she was rejected, she would help Lily remember. Or if the memories stayed buried, they would make new ones. The 6-year-old was gone, but the 14-year-old was here, alive and found. The pages of the medical file rustled in her shaking hands. The confirmation of the strawberry allergy, a sad twist that something so small, so specific to her daughter's body, had revealed 8 years of being held captive when everything else had failed.